Hi again, everybody. Welcome to the Bricks and Bleachers podcast. It is a big day for the Chicago Cubs. Final scheduled day of the 2018 regular season. We have that caveat in there because 162 games may not be enough. Cubs and Brewers are tied atop the National League Central as we head into Game 162. We'll take a look at how we got here and the possibilities moving forward. Cubs with an anemic offense throughout the entire month of September, near the bottom of many National League offensive categories for the month. That said, Cubs still have the best batting average of the season in the National League at .259 and still near the top of most offensive categories. Cubs with 9 games in the month of September scoring 2 runs or fewer. That's 1/3 of the games the Cubs have played where they've put up 0, 1, or 2 runs. And they've won just 1 of those 9 games. And they've got a handful of other games where the Cubs scored 3 runs. So really, about half the month of September, the Cubs have put up 3 runs or less, yet they are 15-12 during that stretch. Kyle Hendricks closing strong over the last month and a half or so. Cole Hamels winless since late August, but a solid body of work since joining the Cubs. Only 1 or 2 games where he really got rocked. Really, the exception being September 19 against Arizona. Hamels has thrown 90 or more pitches per start. He's been eating a lot of innings, too. Even getting roughed up against Arizona there on September 19, he still gave up 7 runs, but did that while doing 6 innings of work and only 78 pitches. Jon Lester with a red-hot first half of this season. Stumbled a bit after the All-Star break, but he's ended up with 18 wins, 18-6 on the year. Lester and Hendricks each 5-1 with an ERA under 2 in their last 7 starts, respectively. Lester will get the start in the wild card game on Tuesday or in Game 1 of the National League Division Series on Thursday. The offense has been shaky. Javi Baez carrying the team as best as he can, but he has cooled a bit in the month of September. An MVP contender, but I really think Christian Yelich has pulled out in front, and he will get that title whenever those awards are handed out here shortly. Yelich leading the National League in batting average. He's tied for the league in home runs, and he trails Baez in RBI. He's trailing Baez just by 2, so there is a shot that Christian Yelich could end up not only as an MVP, but securing a triple crown as well. He has led the red-hot Brewers throughout the month of September, where they've made up about 3.5 games on the Cubs over the last 4 weeks or so. It's not an epic collapse by the Cubs because the division lead was never more than a couple of games. And much like 2015, you've got multiple teams in the National League Central having spectacular years with the best records in the National League. But of course, only one will end up as a division champion. Cubs and Brewers both 94 and 67 at the moment. All games this afternoon starting just after 3 o'clock Eastern. Cubs hosting the Cardinals at 3:20 at Wrigley Field. Mike Montgomery will take to the mound against Jack Flaherty. Montgomery filled a spot in the rotation with good results early on. I think over the long haul, it's been so-so. I mean, nothing spectacular. The thing with Montgomery is you don't end up getting many innings from him. In his last 7 starts, he's turned in just 33 2/3 innings. That's less than 5 innings per start. Only gone 4 innings in 3 of his last 4. Cardinals were only eliminated from the postseason race this weekend at 88-73. They are a good team despite missing the postseason for a 3rd straight year. If you recall, manager Mike Matheny was replaced just after the halfway point of the season. And the Cardinals, I think, were just a shade over 500 at that point. They've jumped up pretty well under interim manager Mike Shildt. Brewers this afternoon hosting the Tigers. First pitch there at 3:10. Brewers with 94 wins. Tigers come in with 30 fewer. They are at 64 and 97. Pretty big gap between those two teams. But the Tigers have held their own the first 2 games of this weekend series. Brewers end up winning both of those. They're looking to sweep this weekend's series this afternoon. Late edition Gio Gonzalez on the mound this afternoon for the Brewers. Youngster Spencer Turnbull on the mound for the Tigers. Turnbull has thrown just 11 innings at the major league level let's look at the scenarios moving forward. Cubs and Brewers both in the postseason. We know that, but we don't know exactly their seedings, I guess, going into the postseason. Division title remains to be determined, and there is a big difference in getting in as a division champion or squeaking by with a wild card spot. As the division winner, you get a couple days rest and will host the winner of the wild card play-in game. In the perfect world, Cubs win today, Brewers lose. That would allow the Cubs to rest until Thursday. Brewers then would have a wild card game Tuesday that would decide their fate and determine who the Cubs would be hosting in the National League Division Series. If the Cubs and Brewers remain tied after today, they'll play a tiebreaker tomorrow at Wrigley Field. Winner hosts the division series on Thursday. Loser would end up playing again on Tuesday, hosting the wild card game. It is possible Cubs could play today, tomorrow, Tuesday, and again on Thursday. And for a team that had a stretch of 30 days without a scheduled day off, that may be a worst-case scenario. Of course, the other scenario is the Cubs losing today and the Brewers winning. That would give the Brewers the division title outright. That would put the Cubs in the wild card game on Tuesday. Hopefully, they would survive that and then meet up with the Brewers again. But that would be in Milwaukee. So these teams have already played 19 games against each other already. They could end up playing 6 more times against one another in the next 2 weeks if there's a tiebreaker. That will take place tomorrow, and then, of course, a best-of-5 series in the divisional round. Elsewhere, the National League, the West remains undecided as well. Rockies and Dodgers are tied for the division lead. Same scenarios for them. They could end up playing a tiebreaker tomorrow, with the loser playing again on Tuesday in the wild card game. So here we are this afternoon, all games starting just after 3 o'clock. Brewers' first pitch is about 10 minutes prior to the Cubs. But the thought is, by having all the teams playing at roughly the same time, it kind of levels the playing field. Sure, there will be plenty of scoreboard watching taking place, but you don't have teams playing with added pressure early in the day, and you don't have games later on in the day that end up being meaningless. So it certainly raises the suspense level throughout the National League in particular, with 2 divisions remaining up for grabs on this final day, scheduled day of the regular season. It is pretty exciting. Now, I think if the Cubs win the division today, they will be in much better shape moving forward. I think they'll advance to the National League Championship Series at least. I think playing tomorrow is undesirable, but again, a win tomorrow would still give them a couple of days off and allow them to host the divisional round series. Now, if they end up playing tomorrow and losing that sets up a Tuesday wildcard game, followed by a Thursday divisional series game. I don't like that scenario, and I'm not convinced that the Cubs would advance if they have to end up playing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and again Thursday. I think they would probably end up being like so many of the Nationals teams of recent years, where you get deep into the 90-win territory, but you don't get a postseason series win. We know John Lester is saved for Tuesday. Preparation moving forward, pretty tough for Joe Maddon, pretty tough for the starting pitchers as well, because you don't know how many games you are preparing for. You don't know exactly which games they will be, when they will be. So many question marks heading into the next 24, 48 hours or so. Lineup this afternoon, Cubs will be starting Daniel Murphy at second in the leadoff spot. He's had a downturn in September, as most of the club has, but he is showing signs of turning it around over the last week or so. Ben Zobrist will bat second and be playing at right field. Javi at short. Rizzo bats cleanup at first. Chris Bryant at third bats fifth. He had a home run Friday. Jason Hayward in center. He homered a couple days ago. That's his only blast of the past 2 months. Yes, he did miss some time during that stretch, but really no power and below average contact hitting for Hayward over his last 30 games. Kyle Schwarber in left, batting seventh. Wilson Contreras behind the plate. And then you got the pitcher, Mike Montgomery, rounding out the lineup. Right now, just before 12 Eastern, Cardinals lineup has yet to be released, but we know Jack Flaherty will be starting. He's gone against the Cubs twice already this year. Both times he went 5 innings, giving up just 2 hits apiece. He won one of those games, got a no decision in the other. So it's not going to be an easy time for the Cubs this afternoon. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Bricks Bleachers is our name on both of those. And subscribe so you you don't miss our next episode on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, or wherever you enjoy your podcasts. All things Chicago Cubs in under 10 minutes. This is the Bricks and Bleachers Podcast.